There are no shortcuts to getting highly coveted press coverage for your brand, only smart cuts like the DIY PR project. Learn how to grow your brand's credibility with PR on a budget with me by your side. This program is your all-in-one membership with expert training, customizable templates, and a supportive community to cheer you on every step of the way. Join us and start growing your business with free publicity today. Sign up now at diy-pr.com. Welcome back to the Grow Your Wealth podcast, everyone. I am the founder and CEO of Factor PR and your host today. We're going to talk about how to outshine your local competitors without competing on price. So whether you are a med spa, a fitness studio, a private practice, a boutique, any kind of service provider or retailer where you have got a local base, this session is going to give you the perspective shift that you need to grow your business with more visibility, more confidence, and more clarity to outshine your local competitors without actually competing on price. So that's a pretty big promise, but I am here to deliver today. But first, let's talk about the real problem here. Okay, we need to start with a reality check. 77% of small business owners say that they actually struggle to maintain consistent visibility in their local markets. That is according to SEMrush Small Business Marketing Report as of 2023. If you are here today, you might be feeling that as well too, especially in the health and wellness industries, which we work with a lot at Factor PR. My goodness, there is a new spa, a new longevity practice, a biohacking center, an IV therapy, a med spa, so many of them popping up, which is great. Like that's great for those industries. But if you are in a local market, it can feel like being on a hamster wheel, not just trying to keep up, but to outpace your competition, of course, as well, too, particularly in some of those harder markets as well. So you are here because you're delivering great results, right? Obviously, if you're in the business of scaling your business, you got to be delivering great results. Your customers love you and you've got something good really going on, right? But new competitors keep popping up. Ads are expensive. Social media is exhausting. Everyone's trying to go viral. Even that's a huge competition. And staying top of mind in a crowded space in a local market can feel like a job in and of itself. I know because we get hired to do it all the time. The truth is, though, these days especially, that doing great work isn't always enough to bring in the business. That's the most important part, don't get me wrong, but we really need to start thinking about how to truly stand out. Because when we differentiate ourselves, when we differentiate our business, this is how we can elevate, right? Because we don't want to compete to necessarily just be, within a certain driving distance. We want to compete to be on a whole other level from our competitors because then there's less competition, right? If you're the best and you are the one that's top of mind, you are the one that is standing out, then it makes the decision a lot easier for many reasons, which we'll talk about a little bit today, to go with your practice or your studio or your store versus somebody else, okay? Price, cost, all of those things, yes, I won't sugarcoat it. Those things do mean a lot to consumers, especially these days with rumblings of recessions and so forth. But we also need to articulate the value. And one of the biggest ways that we articulate and demonstrate value is not just by being the most visible, but by being the most authoritative in our industry. So this is one difference that most businesses, the ones that are able to scale with better ease, focus not just on visibility, but focus also on authority, dominating their field. So think about it with me. Visibility equals attention, but authority equals recognition, right? You have to earn authority. Visibility, anybody can have visibility. You can just buy ads, for example, and get more visibility. But authority puts you into a class of its own by being more recognized for what it is that you provide. And that recognition is what helps to drive loyalty, referrals, action by your target consumer. 81% of these consumers say that they need to trust a brand before buying, even at a local level. And so also building your authority helps build that know, like, and trust factor that you hear me talk about all the time as well. Because if your visibility doesn't include trust and credibility, it either won't convert or it'll take longer to convert. It'll just be harder to convert. So when we can marry visibility with authority, which is exactly what we're going to talk about here in just a moment, that is really the secret sauce to standing out in a crowded local market space. So if you want to grow locally, we've got to get you recognized beyond your zip code. Okay. Think about it. When you become nationally recognized, you create powerful leverage for your local marketing and sales channels to help you attract and retain more of your ideal clients. So whether that recognition comes from awards, being featured in a well-known outlet, interviewed on a national podcast, spotlighted on an expert platform, speaking on stages, right? Whenever someone sees your name or even your face, your brand associated with something bigger than just the local biz, right? They pay attention differently. They stop comparing you necessarily to other businesses. They start seeing you as the one to choose because you're in a class of your own, right? Because anytime when we can compile this third party, unpaid, authentic credibility, particularly that at a national level, that is really the secret sauce to standing out in your local marketplace. Okay. And particularly what I love about this is national media is what we're talking about. I know if you're members of the DIY PR project, you know, we talk about national media all the time because it is so important. And so many people think that it can't possibly be for them. But let me give you just an example of one of our clients, Mona Dermatology. I talk about them a lot because they are honestly a dream client of ours, and they're a client that not only gets great national recognition, but they leverage it exactly the way that I want you to leverage free publicity to help you stand out locally. So Mona Dermatology is one practice. As of the recording of this episode, there's just one Mona Dermatology practice. They are not in a big city, my friends. They are located in sweet, sweet Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where I am located. And leveraging the expertise of their doctors, Dr. Mona, as well as Dr. Alexandra, they have actually earned almost 80 pieces of press coverage since we started working with them last year. Now, this is not press coverage that was bought. These aren't advertorials. These aren't sponsored contents. These are literally 80 interviews that they have done in places like Good Housekeeping, Allure, Real Simple, Today as well. Now, this is a brand that also gets a fair amount of local media coverage, but not nearly to the tune of almost 80 media outlets in a year. And the reason being, think about it, the opportunities at a local level are so much slimmer than they are at a national level. So if you have a particular business, let's say it's in the health and wellness space, or even if you're an interior designer, how many writers in Cincinnati, Ohio, or St. Louis, or Columbus, or even Chicago doesn't have a lot of writers that focus on your type of business, like interior design, for example? I can maybe think of one or two, maybe three in my local market that focus on interior design. So just in terms of the volume of getting placements, which in this case, right, volume equals visibility, placements themselves help equate to authority. The more visibility, the more authority, the higher of a class that we can get you up into when we think about recognition, right? So if you could look at it on a national level, in this case for dermatology, we're focused on beauty, health, healthcare, wellness, dermatology, skincare, hair care. There are hundreds of writers, producers, editors across the country really opening up the opportunity to get this publicity in these larger outlets. So you've got more opportunity because there are more outlets that want to hear from brands, in this case, like more Mona Dermatology, and a higher caliber of outlets as well, too, right? So now we're talking about, again, these allures, glamours, instead of Cincinnati Magazine. Cincinnati Magazine is great, but how many times is Cincinnati Magazine going to feature you? Mona Dermatology has been featured on Allure.com. I would say, I think at least 6 times we've gotten them featured on Allure.com, which helps provide valuable content on their social, blog content, on their website, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about leverage here in just a second. So if you're wondering to yourself too, like, oh my gosh, why though would anyone want to talk to me, right? Like I'm in this small market. I get that there are opportunities, but why would they want me? Mona Dermatology is exquisite. Don't get me wrong. But that being said, I talk to journalists at major media outlets frequently, and they actually tell me that they are so stoked to hear about other businesses and experts that are not, top of mind for them. Okay. So consider it that way, right? This is a new avenue, I know, for a lot of people to think about national recognition. Am I worthy of national recognition? Can I even get national recognition? And here I am saying, not only are you worthy, not only can you get it, you'll probably have an easier time and a more fruitful results from doing so than relying solely on local. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, is that when you want to outpace your competition locally, you've got to get your business into another class entirely. And I would bet to say, and I'm pretty confident in this case, going back to Mona Dermatology, there is no other dermatology practice in the zip code that they are in the city that we are in the region that we are in, that gets the amount of visibility and authority from national media coverage as Mona Dermatology. They are, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, the only frequently nationally recognized dermatology practice in Southwest Ohio. So think about, how can you become the only, right? Not just the best, because we know you're the best. If you're listening to this podcast, I know you care about your business, and I know you take great care of your clients, your customers. You are the best, but I don't want you to be the best kept secret, right? I want you to be in the class of your own. And the way that we are able to do that, and again, without going viral on Instagram or TikTok, without having to spend a ton of money on ads, right? And building trust and credibility simultaneously, is through earned media coverage, aka national free publicity. So hopefully I'm opening up your minds a little bit about how this could work for your business. But that being said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. This is where people also get this wrong. They miss the mark when it comes to getting national media mentions, okay? They share it once and that's it. And then it disappears and nobody talks about it again. And they think, well, I didn't really get much out of that. What on earth? Like, I thought this was going to totally transform my business. The transformation doesn't just come with that piece of coverage, okay? Where most businesses miss the mark is that they fail to appropriately leverage the coverage, okay? So in other words, they don't get as much ROI because they aren't maximizing it. Think of it this way. If you go to college, right? You graduate with a degree, let's say a doctorate, and you leave college. Are you wealthy right away? No, you're not wealthy right away, right? Like, if you're getting a doctorate, hopefully, let's say a medical doctor degree of some kind, I hope you would use your education, use that degree, use that experience to eventually become wealthy, right? Because not everyone is a doctor. So when you think about it, right, and if you are listening, I know we have a lot of people in our community that are doctors, you're competing with other doctors. And how are you able to continue to outpace other doctors that's beyond just education, right? Because most practicing doctors are probably, other than to keep up with certifications and things like that, they're probably not interested in going back to school. I might be wrong about that. But again, press coverage is an important leveraging chip that you can use that helps build up that credibility, right? But again, that credibility alone, like a college degree, it's important, but it's not the final step. It is an unlock for your business. So if you're curious about 5 ways that you can leverage free publicity, particularly national recognition, that you can use to power your local marketing. Okay, so how do we take this national coverage and then put it into our local marketing to be able to generate leads, sales, bookings of that nature? Okay, social proof is so important. Famed entrepreneur Alex Hormozy, the way he phrases this is show the proof before the promise. Actually says show the proof over the promise. Proof for so many consumers is more valuable than just promising, right? Like 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, or like show me the proof, show me an example of somebody else who has walked this journey. In this case, show me why I should trust you, right? And so leverage that publicity on your social feed, not just once, right? Break it into stories, quotes, carousels, reels, put it in your bio. All of those send signals to potential customers like, oh my God, I heard about this great coffee shop and they've been featured, in these publications. That helps signal to your potential customer, your audience online, that you are a place to trust, that you must be highly in demand, things along those lines, because if Bon Appetit is featuring you, you've got to be good, right? I literally, and I know I'm more like in tune to this sort of stuff, but I literally saw one of my photographer friends that we work with a lot here at Factor PR. Her name is Haley Bollinger. She's amazing. She posted some imagery that she had shot at this super cute bakery here in Cincinnati. I think it's called Mochico. And I, of course, was dazzled by the content. The photos were beautiful because Haley can do no wrong. And I went to this bakery's social media feed and instantly saw that they have been New York Times featured, Bon Appetit featured. And I kid you not, in addition to the beautiful croissants I was seeing on their feed, I literally got in the car 2 hours later and went to the bakery the same day, right? And why? Because, it didn't take me long to know, like, and trust them. I like croissants. I like what they are selling. They're nationally recognized. Their content is beautiful. I am their target audience. I live in town. Boom. I made it to the bakery. This story, though, has a very sad ending in that they were entirely sold out of everything that day. So, boohoo. Next time I know, wow, the demand is real, right? The demand is real. Hey, I didn't launch an investigation, but I'm sure some of that national recognition has helped them sell out, right, at that bakery as well, too. So something to consider, my friends. All right. Next, leveraging that press coverage on your website. Put it all over the place, but most importantly, on the homepage. Add those coveted as seen in media badges to your homepage, to your bio page, a press page. I want them to be visible, though. Studies show, according to the CXL Institute, that this can actually increase conversions by up to 42% on your website. When you think about high leverage opportunities for your business, we're not talking here, go out and hire a copywriter and try to make your website convert even better. No, what I'm saying is take what you already got, this valuable national press coverage, and put it on your website. You already have it, right? How can we leverage it to maximize ROI? Putting it on your social, putting it on your website, okay? Also, using press coverage in ads helps them convert, okay? Using press coverage in your ads helps them convert. I just listened to a podcast episode. It was the Gold Digger podcast by Jenna Kutcher. She's huge. I'm sure you've heard of her. And she had her ads specialist on the podcast just recently. And this ad specialist had said that mixing an organic strategy with a paid strategy is the ticket to highly converting ads. Okay. So my point is, and this person's point is, spend the money on the ads. That is great. But if you don't have organic covered as well too, they might be harder to convert, because organic is where the relationship starts. Organic is where the trust is built. So if you can marry organic with paid. And in this case, marry organic content like national recognition, national press coverage, a quote, a logo, right? A clip of some kind. Marry that with your ads, you're going to see a higher conversion rate. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, think about it, right? At the point of the ads, right, as we talked about earlier, is to enhance your visibility, right? But what ads don't do a great job of is building relationships. They don't do a great job of connecting with people. They don't do a great job of building trust. That's not really the point of ads. That's the point of owned media, organic media, right? Publicity, things like that. So if you could combine a trust building mechanism with a visibility mechanism, or as we talked about earlier, combine authority with visibility. If you can imagine a Venn diagram with me, that is the secret sauce, right? To standing out and converting. Okay. So getting that free publicity, that national media coverage, and incorporating it into your ads will only help them convert as well too, right? Because we got to get those customers in. The fourth way I want to think about leveraging free publicity is in any kind of sales and onboarding material. So, if you are someone like me, I write a lot of proposals, right? I've got testimonials, case studies, media clips. All of that is in my in my proposals because it helps build that know, like, and trust value. Most importantly, the trust, right? I've got experience. You should trust me. You should buy from me because all these other people bought from me. These are the results that we've gotten. I'm nationally recognized, right? It's about perception, and we want to sway people's perceptions truthfully and authentically, right? So you can plug in press coverage and proposals, bring them to consults, or put them in your client welcome kits. All of these things show that you are a trusted authority, right? I love walking into mom and pop shops, for example, like my parents' restaurant, and there's a wall of press coverage on the wall, right? And of course, it makes people feel proud that work there. They should feel proud. It also helps build that really cool trust factor for maybe new customers that are coming in. And it's the first thing that they see, like, wow, look at all these places this restaurant has been in. I must be in the right place. And then the fifth way I wanted to share with you today about how to leverage press coverage is highlighting your media features in your newsletter. Any of those automations, those nurture sequences, I should say, press coverage boosts those open rates and helps with engagement. So I want to do a future podcast episode on this specifically because I think email marketing, in my experience, is so valuable, especially when it comes to sales and conversions, right? Once you get those leads, we got to convert them. So highlighting those media features in your email newsletter, build those into your automations. I've even seen clients, hey, we were featured in Vogue to celebrate, maybe it's 15% off this or a bundle, or come in this Friday and get, a free gift, something like that, to really build community and help people rally around your brand, right? This is how we also build brand loyalty. And speaking of building, this is also how we build long-term brand equity, okay? One of the most valuable things that you can get out of being nationally recognized is that nobody can take that away from you. So when your ads stop running, they're gone, right? When you're done working with an influencer, that was last year, right? That was last year, right? But with publicity, with awards, with recognition, things like that, that kind of builds this equity, right, into your brand because it's yours. It's like you have earned it. You didn't buy it. It wasn't something that everyone can have. And it helps build this equity into your brand because when we build that brand equity, what we're really also talking about is building your brand reputation. And when we can leverage that, when we can monetize your reputation, that's how we can also build revenue. Okay. So do you start to see how putting your brand in a class of its own with something as coveted and as prestigious and as authoritative as national media coverage can be such a powerful lever that you can use in your business, right? And so if you're thinking about this and you're like, yeah, that sounds great, but this doesn't sound urgent, right? Because one thing I will say, PR coverage in terms of conversions, right? Because the the benefit of public relations coverage or media coverage is for the long term. Again, it never expires. There might be some hesitation around in that case, like what will I see immediately? Will I see anything immediately? Why should I be thinking about this right now? I need sales today. I need sales yesterday. Hey, I totally get that. But, as we often say, best time to start is now. Is it day one or one day? And I want you to think about this as day one because ad costs are almost higher than ever, up 20 to 30% year over year on platforms like Meta and Google, according to a recent report. That's a lot, you guys. And national recognition, publicity, that's free, right? We're not talking about paying for media. It doesn't have the same impact when you pay to play for media. I don't know about you. I literally just got text messaged from a quote unquote PR agency inviting me to participate in a feature for Business Insider and fees applied. Okay, that is an ad. If you get a text message or an email or DM from an agency or a person that invites you to be part of a profile of some kind on Forbes or NBC or Business Insider in this case, that is an ad. Okay. Anyone that can guarantee you media coverage is selling you advertising. They are not selling you public relations. They're not selling you media coverage. You cannot buy earned media coverage because listen to my words. It's called earned media coverage. So you have to earn it. That's why it's so prestigious, right? Earned media. However, the price is not going up on earned media because it's free. So not only is it free, but it is, like I said, more accessible than ever. Writers and podcasters, they are actively looking for business owners with insights, with experience, with value to share, okay? Does not matter where you're located. Rarely doesn't matter where you're located. You don't need to stress all the time about going viral. You don't need a massive marketing budget. You just need to become nationally recognized with the right strategy and use that recognition to grow your business locally. So if you're jazzed up and you want to learn more, we've got two paths that we can ultimately take. To get this free publicity, okay, you can learn how to do it yourself or you can delegate it. So if you are interested in kind of kicking the tires and learning for yourself first, I want to invite you to check out the DIY PR project. It's an on-demand membership program, and it walks you step by step through how to pitch your brand, how to get featured, and how to repurpose your coverage. And inside the program, you get PR training designed for non-PR people. You can use our fill in the blank press kit templates, our pitch templates. You get a 30-day pitching calendar, a weekly office hours, and real media opportunities that you can apply for. This is the exact path we've seen clients and students get featured in Forbes, Apartment Therapy, the New York Times, and more. Okay, no fancy team required if you don't want to go that path. If you've got the bandwidth, I highly recommend it. Yours truly is your coach in the DIY PR project. And DIY can truly make a difference in your business. If you're familiar with the podcast, How I Built This, Hero Cosmetics founder had mentioned that she DIY'd her PR until they were able to get a PR agency. Okay. So it's totally possible. But if that's not your jam right now, which I totally understand if you're running a growing business, you can delegate it and you can delegate it to a agency like my own called Factor PR. We specialize in health, wellness, beauty, design, and lifestyle brands. We specialize in helping them become nationally recognized with free publicity and creating that powerful leverage to get local and marketing sales efforts off the grounds. We work with single location businesses, boutique businesses, multi-city businesses. So If that's something you're ever interested in, our doors are always open for you. You can head to factorpr.com to connect. All right. Now, the final thing I just want to leave you with, being good at what you do, okay? Owning a business that you love, it should be enough. I get it. But in today's world, because of things like social media, especially, it's usually not enough. And you are not alone, okay? You don't just need to work hard, you need to work smarter. You need to stand out. And that happens when you become nationally recognized with free publicity and then use that to elevate your marketing, to grow your sales, and to ultimately scale your business. Okay. This is so possible for you. And I want to see your name in the spotlight. I know it's possible. We're here to help. If you have any questions, let us know. Before you go, I want to just remind you of a freebie that we have today too. So I shared 5 ways to leverage press coverage to boost your brand, but I've got double that for you. If you would like, I've created a very special ebook. If you go to factorpr.com/book, it is called The Ultimate Guide to Leveraging Free Publicity to Boost Your Business. And I've got 10 in-depth ways that you can monetize publicity to help grow your authority as well as your sales. So head to factorpr.com/book. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode deposited some useful advice and insights to help you grow your wealth. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations. You can find more resources, episode details, and updates at growyourwealthpodcast.com. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram. Follow me at Grow Your Wealth Podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or takeaway from today's show. Until next time, remember, burnout is optional. Take care, and I'll see you next week.